Blake? What are you doing?
What? We're just playing Mortal Kombat.
But don't you know what day it is, Blake?
Of course I know, it's just Tuesday.
No, it's Wednesday.
Ah! Alright, we gotta go!
Hello, movie fans, and welcome to the first episode of Be Kind and Rewind, where we will be ranking all of your favorite movie franchises. I'm Owen Miles.
And I'm Blake Blodgett, and today we'll be talking about the Scream franchise. But before we get into it, you might be wondering, what right do we have to be discussing movies? Well, we watch a lot of them, and in my opinion, that's all you really need.
Yeah, that's right, Blake. When ranking these movies, though, we keep a few things in mind, like the acting, cinematography, and just how iconic the movie is.
And of course, our own personal preferences will be taken into account, and that'll go for whatever franchise we look at. So please, if we rank one of your favorite movies low, please don't threaten to beat us up. Anyway, let's get right into the first Scream.
The original Scream was released in 1996 and was directed by the legendary Wes Craven, and quickly became one of the most iconic horror franchises of all time, with the look of the ghost face being particularly the reason why.
But Scream also became popular due to the amazing cast of characters it introduced and just the amazing script from Kevin Williamson. But yes, having one of the most worn masks during the Halloween season helps. So, I mean, what is there to say about the original Scream that hasn't been said already? It's one of the most iconic movies, not just horror movies of all time. It's one of my favorites. I know it's one of yours.
I know, it's definitely one of my favorites. But the best part about this franchise is just the whole whodunit aspect of it. It's just because, yeah, I mean, I can just see myself going back to 1996 and watching this movie for the first time and just I didn't know that there was going to be two killers. I didn't know that it was going to be we were going to find out that it was one of them the whole time. It's crazy.
It's just, yeah, exactly. It's just very shocking, even to when you look back on it. And I can only imagine being in 1996 when this came out, and just the shock that it was one of the members of the friend group, and also just the shock of talking about the horror movies that we all watch, which is, and also the rules of those movies. There's a formula to it, a very specific formula. Everybody is a suspect, as a matter of fact. And
Quoting
also
the great Randy Meeks.
Yeah, and also never say you'll be right back, because you won't be back.
You will not.
We are also in cosplay of the first movie.
Yeah.
Stu Macher, I'm Billy Loomis.
Yeah.
You don't want to see us in a dark alley, is basically what I'm saying.
Oh my God. Okay. So yeah.
Let's rank.
Yeah.
Obviously,
that's
as you
what we
can
do on this
see,
show.
as you can see, for both of us, it's number one. It's, like we said, one of our favorites.
Yeah.
What are some other reasons that we love it so much?
I mean, before the movie came out, a lot of it was Drew Barrymore. A lot of the marketing was on Drew Barrymore, and then her character just gets killed off immediately. That's got to be one of the most shocking parts of the movie. It's just Wes Craven. He's just a genius.
And Barrymore herself even suggested that. I mean, just a genius move on her part, because it ends up being a reference in itself to the original Psycho, where Janet Leigh was portrayed as the star, but then is off in the first 50 minutes, and the rest of the movie follows different characters. I think it was a brilliant move, and I mean, it introduces some of our favorite characters. Stu Macher, I mean...
Yeah, we cannot forget about Stu Macher.
Matthew Lillard with one of just the most amazing performances I think I've ever seen. The man himself is not a fan of it.
I don't know why, though. His portrayal of Stu Macher is absolutely amazing.
And this movie also introduces us to one of the best final girls, as us horror nerds call them. Yeah, the final surviving character, Sidney Prescott, is one of my favorites. She's up there with Ellen Ripley.
Yeah.
I mean, Neve Campbell just brings such an amazing performance, an amazing toughness to her. But we'll be right back. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue to rank Screams 2 through 4.
Would you like to try snacks from faraway lands? Or snacks with bizarre flavors? How about snacks in new ways? or snacks you've never tried before. You don't have to go far to find these snacks. They can all be found here at Snacks on West 1st Street.
Yeah, we're walking around campus, and what do we see? All these clubs are looking.
They looking for me.
There's hockey,
There's improv,
so much to see. So let's go try them out and see how they be. Come on and please watch.
Our embarrassments free.
Tune in to Amateurs on WTOP.
Happy Friday, Lakers, and another beautiful day here in Oswego, New York. I'm DJ Don Perone, and I'm happy that you're starting your weekend off right listening to WNYO 88.9 FM, the Laker Radio Network.
I said, darling, can you see? There's no room for us. There's no room. Now our lives are changing. Promises keep slipping. And I always knew it wasn't you. It wasn't you. Now our lives are changing. Promises keep slipping. And I always knew it wasn't you. It wasn't you.
Welcome back to Be Kind and Rewind. Let's rejoin Sidney Prescott and get right back into it.
In 1997, only 1 year after the release of the first Scream, we got the sequel called, well, Scream 2.
Once again, this one was directed by Wes Craven, and this film sees Sidney take on the world of college,
Spectacular.
while also trying to live as somewhat of a celebrity after a book and a movie were made about her in the events that took place in Woodsboro in the first film.
But then someone attempts to make their own sequel, so it's up to Sydney and everyone else to find out who's behind it this time. And that's
Right.
something to mention about this movie. It introduces the franchise within a franchise,
Exactly.
being the movies called Stab in the franchise that are based around the events that happen in all the movies. It's
Yeah.
kind of confusing
Yes,
when you first
Once you
realize it.
first get into it, it's a little confusing. The first scene in Scream 2 is a bunch of the characters going to the first Stab movie, and yeah, that theater was insane.
It was
that
packed.
scene.
It was
yeah, there
packed.
were people screaming. There was like ghost face puppets flying around. It's just it was crazy. I
like-
don't think any theater could ever see something like that.
I think for Avengers Endgame specifically, that's the only theater experience I could even compare it to. So, I mean, it's very obviously a movie, again, just not realistic in the slightest.
Absolutely not.
This movie is interesting for me personally. I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird chapter in the franchise. It's the college chapter that it feels like was just bound to happen after the original.
Yeah.
But
And
all the characters are just in a weird place.
I know, it's just like, I remember when I first saw it, I know this is kind of a weird thing to bring up, but it's just like, Randy has like sort of a stubble now in this movie, and it looks super weird just to see him with a beard.
And just, let's talk about Randy. Getting rid of Randy, one of the worst mistakes they could have made in this franchise. They realized it was a mistake in the next movie that we'll talk about soon.
Yeah, it's like
There should have been a core four of the original
and
trilogy.
that should have been Sydney, obviously, and then Gal Weathers, Dewey, who's one of my favorite characters in the franchise, and Randy. But they go ahead and they get rid of Randy like about halfway through Scream 2, and that is one of the worst things that has ever been done in this franchise.
Some of the weakest, one of the weakest Ghostface, I will say. One of the Ghostfaces though is Billy's mother, which is an amazing line delivered by Mickey. But he's also one of the worst Ghostfaces because he is just not in 45 minutes until he is revealed.
It's just like, so he's supposed to be the friend of Sydney's new boyfriend. Which, of course, everybody suspected it was the boyfriend, of course, after the first movie with Billy. But yeah, he was one of his friends, and they do this whole like, I want to say like musical number scene, like in the middle of a dining
the
hall.
musical number.
Oh god.
I think I love you. Isn't that what life is made of? Nope.
Yeah.
Yep,
okay.
no.
Yeah.
It's
The crickets.
terrible. It's awful.
The crickets are heard.
Yes.
But
the
yeah,
crickets
going
are
back to
heard.
Mickey, it's just like he shows up in this scene, which is like 45 minutes into the movie or so, and then he doesn't show up until the ghost face are revealed, and that's just super weird. So anyway,
we should rank
let's
this
go
one.
ahead and rank this movie. So coming up,
For me,
there
it
it
is.
is.
For me, it is number 5.
Yeah, and for me, it's number 4. It's sort of in the middle of the pack for me. This was one of the hardest ones to rank, in my opinion, just because of
it's
how
hard to rank.
in a weird spot
Yeah.
this movie is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Anyway.
that'll do it for Scream 2.
Let's get
into the next
Scream 3.
one.
Released in 2000, Scream 3 follows the cast in the amazing, dreamy place called Hollywood. That was sarcasm. Anyway, once again, someone starts a spree, and it seems to be involved with the making of the latest Stab movie.
When we pick up with Sydney, she's now living by herself in the middle of nowhere. But when she's once again threatened, she must leave her new life in order to help find out what's going on and what her mother's past has to do with it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Scream
Yeah.
3.
So going back to her mother, so Sydney's mother, Maureen Prescott, plays a huge role in the entire
Huge
lore
role.
of this movie. And
Even just the franchise as a whole, I mean, she's part of the reason that
mostly
Billy
this
and
movie.
Stu...
I mean, like...
But yeah, her past is very much a detail in this movie that just kind of comes out of nowhere. I know they try to explain it away that that's how trilogies work. You learn things you didn't think you know,
Yeah,
but it's
I
just...
don't know.
God, where do I begin? The stupid voice changer
Yeah, they
that
have
can
this,
mimic
they have this
anyone's
voice.
voice.
Yeah. Also, I want to talk about the opening scene. So first of all, in a Scream movie, they always have an opening like scene where somebody gets offed, and in this one, it was somebody from Scream 2, Cotton Weary, who was a very controversial talk show host in this movie.
Yeah, he turns into a very
Yeah.
controversial talk show host. He was the man originally imprisoned for Sidney Prescott's mother's murder. He's the one imprisoned, but he was wrongfully convicted.
Yeah.
And in the second movie, when we meet him, he's just trying to basically remind everyone that, oh, I'm an innocent man.
Just like, I didn't do anything.
I didn't do a thing.
Which he didn't.
But now we catch up with him, and he's this controversial talk show host.
Yeah, and then...
he's also making an appearance. He's going to be making a guest appearance in the latest Stab.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't get over the stupid voice changer.
It's so dumb.
We barely have AI technology that can replicate voices well today, and I just can't
Just SpongeBob
believe,
characters, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I can't believe that in 2000 they had a voice changer that, for reasons, could perfectly mimic voices. And I'm sorry I'm ranting about this one a little bit, but big plot aspects happen because of this voice changer. Characters get to places, characters are taken away from certain situations because of this voice changer, and it makes no sense to me. These movies are supposed to be grounded.
I hate it so much.
These movies are supposed to be grounded.
Also, one thing I hate about this movie, the characters. There's not a single interesting new character in this movie. None of them. Even the Ghostface is not really that interesting. By the way, he's a director.
He's a director, and he's also
brother.
Sydney's brother that never gets talked about ever again. That just
Her like half brother of
half
Maureen
brother.
Prescott.
And to me, that just that lets you know just like how unimportant he is to the franchise. That Sydney's long lost half brother that nobody knew about.
Yeah, that just was not mentioned one time.
And then he's just never brought up again until Scream 6 because, they kind of had to.
Yeah, and
more than anything.
I know.
Oh boy.
But Sydney has a dog in this one, so that's cool.
I think we should get to ranking. I think it's pretty clear what our ranking is going to be for this one.
Yeah, you probably can already guess this one, but let's pull it up here anyway.
Let's pull it up. It's 6. It's last. Get it away from me. Get it off my screen.
Do not like this movie. It's just like get it out of here. Let's just get on to the next one already.
Get on to the next one.
All right. So speaking of the next one, It would take over a decade for us to get to another installment in this franchise, but we finally did with Scream 4.
This movie would bring us back to Woodsboro, but now in the year of our Lord 2011, and follows a new cast of high schoolers as well as the core three of the original trilogy.
This film would tackle the growing fever around horror remakes, and in this one, the killer is trying to make their own remake.
Now, I'm going to let you start off with Scream 4.
Yeah,
this
so-
is not one of your favorites. You
I
don't like this one.
I don't like this movie, and let's start out with the original. Let's go to the original scene. We start out with the classic scene, right? But then a huge title card comes out and it says Stab 6. So we're like, okay, so that wasn't expected. So we get to this next scene. That's pretty similar to the other scene, you know.
Two girls watching
two
Stab
girls
6.
watching a horror movie, get a phone call, you know, the
Blah, blah,
the
blah.
regular scene, and then that scene ends. Huge title card, Stab 7. And then we get to another scene, which is, again, two girls watching a horror movie. One of them gets a phone call. Again. And so, yeah, after this one, finally, we get to the Scream title card. And it's just like, why?
See,
why is that there?
I somewhat agree.
I don't
It's
get
just
that.
You wonder what was the point of it, given
Yeah.
what was the point of that whole thing?
I don't get it.
I do personally, I like this movie more than him. We'll get into that when we rank it, but
It's
I
just
like the idea of tackling remakes, of the Ghostfaces in this one trying to make their own remake of the original Stab, and they're trying to get famous because
Yeah. That's a huge motive behind the killer in this one.
Huge aspect. One of the killers ends up being another Sidney Prescott family member, this time her cousin.
Yeah, her cousin Jill Roberts. So, yeah.
Sydney, you gotta pick better family members. I don't.
I know. PSA to Sydney's family members.
Watch out.
Can you stop turning into the people that you're turning into?
I don't think that's possible, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not much we can do about that.
Unfortunately not.
Watch her husband will be.
I do have something to say about Jill Roberts, though.
Go for it.
So, her whole motive behind this is trying to get fans. She has a little recording device in her mask, which I don't even know how she put that there and carried it around with her all the time, considering this was 2011. I mean, it's not that long ago, but still.
Not peak
But
of
also,
technology.
she also goes on this whole rant about how everything in her family is Sydney Prescott, Sydney this. And so she's like, I'm tired of all this popularity by Sydney, so I'm going to be the survivor now. Something traumatic's going to happen to me. So basically, she's trying to be both the villain and get fans about,
being the hero.
and then she's also wants to be the hero. And
But
then
yet you're recording it all.
Yeah.
And eventually, I would
someone's
find
gonna find that evidence.
Yeah, I
mean,
would find it hard. And she even she ends up tattling on herself when she talks about her and Gail Weathers having matching wounds. And Gail's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How does she know that?
So
it wouldn't have worked. It's a weird plan. I personally like it though, although it's a very weirdly shot movie.
But
even.
Anyway, one last thing. Charlie Walker, the other Ghostface, done super dirty. So anyway, let's get without any more word on that. Let's get to the rankings on this.
The rankings of this one.
So I don't like it.
I have it significantly higher at 3. I enjoy it. I thought it was a good
I
return
still
to
don't know
form.
how it's in your top half. I can't even ask. This is my second least favorite one.
You don't know a lot about me, sir. We're just gonna leave it at that. Anyway.
Okay. So,
we'll cover the latest 2 installments in the franchise after we come back.
But until then,
we'll be right back!
Say, President Stanley, whenever there's bad weather, who would you turn to?
I'd turn to Storm Team 10.
No, but you've got to say it like this. Storm Team 10. Say it with me. Storm Team 10.
Roll it.
Jill
Should
told
we
me it
tell
was
him?
Kitty from Glee. Yeah, what is it?
Al Roker.
Welcome back to Be Kind and Rewind. Once again, let's not waste time and get back into it.
It took us another decade to get another installment in this franchise with 2022 Scream. Wait, just let me make sure. Did I get that right?
You did get that right, Owen. This movie is also just called Scream. It is the first one not directed by Wes Craven, given he had passed away in 2015.
Rest in peace.
This movie tackles what we film nerds call requels and elevated horror.
So yeah, well, let's start out on this one. Well, first off, we are once again following a new cast of characters with someone trying to make their own true sequel to the original Stab. Yet again.
So Scream 5, this was one of my most anticipated movies I can remember in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And people are going to make fun of me for that. I don't really care. I'm a nerd. I think we said that already.
I mean...
But I didn't get to see this one in theaters,
fine.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, but I luckily did avoid spoilers, and I was able to watch it, and I think this is one of the best, like, return to forms of any horror franchise. It's one of the best sequels.
Yeah.
I know some
and the fact that it wasn't directed by the OG Wes Craven is pretty insane, just considering how good it ended up being.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to the group called Radio Silence, who ended up being the ones to direct it. It's a testament to how good they are. I mean, they've made so many other good movies like Abigail and Ready or Not.
Yeah.
They're directors to watch out for in the horror space.
Absolutely.
And hopefully Scream 7 is also good.
So,
but some
So
more things we liked about this movie.
Let's talk about some of the new characters. So, Sydney is not the main final girl anymore. Right now, it is a new girl named Samantha Carpenter, who is the daughter of the OG Billy Loomis.
My daughter. I mean, if I'm Billy Loomis,
your cosplayer's daughter.
But that's a very big development that I think could have not worked, but
they found a way to make it work.
Yeah, and with the vision she has of her father, it makes sense. Like the psychosis has like transferred to her, even though that's not a real thing. I'm a psych major. That's not a real thing.
It's good for movies, though.
It's good for it's a movie.
I'm a film major.
Movies.
I know it's good for movies.
You got to make the movies interesting, however you can.
Yeah. So
the rest of the cast, I really like.
I like this one's Ghostface.
Yes.
His name is Richie Kirsch. He's the only other boyfriend Ghostface outside of Billy. The only thing, I think that Jack Quaid, the guy that plays him, really goes well into the innocent guy being chased by the Ghostface and then turning into the psychotic Ghostface later on.
Although I gotta talk about, he's a weak Ghostface in the fact that he doesn't really do much as Ghostface. Amber, who it turns out to be his girlfriend, does a lot of the heavy lifting for him.
Yeah, but Amber, not Samantha, the main girl. That was the whole the whole twist with these Ghostface.
Because they were trying to make their own requel and bring it back to the original. Samantha was going to be their killer, but that didn't work out so well for them. You know,
another person that it didn't go out so well for, unfortunately, one of the OGs, Dewey. Was taken out of the equation in this one.
That hurt my heart.
I know, that hurt to see.
But
well, anyway, let's get done with this one. Bam. Number 2.
We agree. We actually agree. See, we do like each other,
this
guys.
One, so yeah, we love this movie. There's Jack Quaid.
There he is.
Probably the best part of this movie,
Definitely.
as I mentioned.
All right.
So yeah, that'll do it for Scream
And let's get into
5.
Let's get into Scream 6.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we didn't need to wait another decade for a sequel, as we got one year after Scream 5's release in 2023.
This follows the same cast of characters from 5, but now we're in the big New York City where there's yet another Ghostface stalking them because, well, that's what they do.
Scream 6. This, again, for me, was
interesting one.
another interesting one to talk about.
It's the college ones, I mean, like...
Always the college ones, you know? They're interesting
So,
to
yeah,
talk
they
about.
follow the same characters. The first one without Sidney Prescott.
For reasons.
Yeah.
They didn't give Nev Campbell enough money, basically.
But, yeah.
They didn't back up the Brinks truck for her.
Yeah, unfortunately. But we did get Gal Weathers back in this one.
Weathers.
And Courtney Cox played her great.
As usual.
Yeah.
As usual.
So yeah.
I think all the returning characters, the core four as they are now known, of Chad, Mindy, Tara, and Samantha. They're all great. They're fantastic.
The 5 people from 5 that were introduced in 5. And then we also get a bunch of new characters. We get Quinn, Detective Bailey. We get Ethan. We get Kirby coming back, who was from Scream 4.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
But
She's in the FBI now.
She's in the FBI now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like the weird choice with these ghost faces, though. They're some of the least interesting, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, one of them has a fake out death.
But yeah, and the way they explain it off just to me makes no sense. They're
It's just like one of the ways to get off the bucket list.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay,
and
how are you gonna fake that? Like, if you watch the movie, how are you gonna fake those words?
I don't know. And then they all turn out to be Richie's family.
Yeah.
Detective Bailey is Richie's father.
Yeah.
Quinn is his sister, and Ethan is his younger brother.
Yeah. So
the only thing I don't get with that is, to me, why are you justifying your son being a psychopath?
I don't know. It's just like, he had such great inspirations, man.
He had such a good heart, you know.
Like, he collected all of these things. He
collected all this serial killer memorabilia.
No, he still was a serial killer. That's like
it's like all the people. It's like all the people that justify, you know, serial killers in real life. They do that stuff. That's a conversation we're not going to touch because this is supposed to be a fun show.
Yeah, one of the iconic scenes in this movie is the subway scene with a whole bunch of horror references. You got obviously Ghostface in there.
I believe there's
an attack happens in there. There's Pinhead. Pretty sure there's a Pennywise in there at some point.
There's Michael Myers. Like
Michael
just about
Myers,
any
Freddy
horror
Krueger.
cosplay you can think of.
Yeah, there's a huge, overcrowded subway. The suspense is insane. And Ethan, who's already, like, suspected to be one of the Ghostface, is in the car alone with Mindy. And Mindy ends up getting attacked, and it's not Ethan. And it's like, oh, we can scratch him off the list. And then he ends up being a Ghostface all along.
I will say, they did pretty good at the fake out aspect of it. All the characters in this movie that are added are pretty just not relevant. Like, they're just not
Especially
important.
Gail's boyfriend, who's in it for like 30 seconds.
Don't even get me started on that.
So anyway, that'll do it for that. Let's rank.
For me, this is 4, right in the middle.
Mine's also right in the middle, but it's on the top half of the middle. It is at number 3. I personally kind of like this movie. I saw it on opening night.
Something we should say really quickly, we like all the movies above 3, so we're very hard on like 2.
Yeah, like I was super hard on 4, but I still like 4.
Yeah, we still like a lot of these movies. This is one of the most consistently good of the horror franchises, I think we can say.
What a way to start off our show on. So anyway, let's recap our rankings
recap
here.
Real quick.
Yep.
From worst to best.
Yeah, as you can see, Scream 3, bottom for both of us. Scream 1, top for both of us.
And a pretty big fluctuation in the middle for us.
Yeah, just weird.
As you can see, we love each other. We agree. But I think that's going to do it for us.
So yeah, that's going to do it for our show. And that's going to do it for the Scream franchise.
Thank you for watching, and be sure to join us in 2 weeks for our next episode.
Bye-bye!